You have a computer size this room. You like how does this come out of that?
Right.
Like how can you even conceptualize that
Right.
and then go and do it?
Welcome to the Biggest Talk. For all you viewers tuning in for the first time, we break down some of the most influential bestsellers of our generation and read them so you don't have to. We're your hosts,
Ira.
Sebastian.
and Harrison.
For today's episode, we will be going over laws 11 through 15 of John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
And the first law, the law of the inner circle. And what this basically means is the people closest to you is your main circle of influence. So it's really important to display, good characteristics to them because they're gonna reflect you and vice versa. You guys are gonna all represent each other in a sense, and you should keep it to a minimum of 7.
7. That's an interesting number, actually. I know, people who have an even smaller number than that.
Wait, sorry, yeah, maximum of 7.
Maximum
My bad.
of 7.
My bad.
Maximum.
I misspoke.
I think the interesting thing is that some people, they don't even have 7. I think personally for me, 7 is a really hard number to hit.
Yeah, that's a lot for an
That
inner
is a
circle.
lot of people. I might have, a couple people in my inner circle, maybe 4 that I trust. Right? I think 7 really pushes it.
Yeah, I think even 5 is
Yeah.
like probably the limit for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because once you get to those higher numbers, it's not you helping each other, but rather you just managing.
Yeah, I feel like there's not enough time to allocate to 7 different people,
Right. I feel like each person should be, self-sustaining. I mean, lack of a better word, self-sustaining. They should be contributing to you as much, if not more, than you're contributing to them.
Yeah,
I
especially
mean,
if you're the leader, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to. It's definitely hard to balance something like that.
Because that's the point of the inner circle. Everyone has their different areas of
Strengths and-
specialty,
yeah.
So while you would help someone else in their weakness, they would help you with your weakness.
Exactly.
So you would build each other up. That's the whole
Right.
point of the law of the inner circle.
Yeah.
I think this really reflects a lot about the laws, or leads into the laws that we're about to go over, as well as the laws that we've already gone over, especially
Yeah.
the law of addition. Empowerment, it's not only like keep good people around you. I think it's really important that you have quality people. It's definitely really hard to find the quality people that you need in your life. I mean, it's quantity over quality, but in this situation, you need a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think the quality is hard to find, but also you attract who you are, right? So
Right,
if you really
definitely.
display what you're trying to attract, sooner or later you'll get that back.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's really important you do your all to make sure that those who are in your inner circle are at their utmost potential, even if it means they will surpass you in level of support, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's a good area that we can transition into the next law, which is the law of empowerment. Do you empower the people around you, or do you tear them down in fear?
Well, I think first you got to empower yourself.
Yeah,
You got to make sure
definitely.
people understand that what you can do is, you could duplicate.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times people see people at the top, I can never do that. Well, of course, I mean, if you didn't look at the whole all the steps they took to get there, you're going to just assume, in an overnight you won't.
Right.
But just understanding that we're all humans and we all have the same potential, there's nothing
Yeah.
special about anybody else is
Just-
the main thing about empowerment.
It just comes down to putting in that work, and also as a leader you have to empower others and put in that work to help them achieve their higher levels of leadership.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to the law of the inner circle that Harrison said. It's like you got to make sure you're investing in people, right? Not spending time with people, because you obviously want a return on your investment. You're not going to
Yeah.
spend time without any sort of
Right.
return. And I think that's a big thing to be very selective about in your inner circle.
Yeah, and you can't fear they might be better than me, so I shouldn't empower them too
Yeah, that's
much,
great. If they are going to be better,
If they are
go
better
for
than
it.
you,
That's
that means
perfect
that
for
you
your
are
inner
doing
circle.
your part as a leader.
Exactly.
You
Right, I
are
mean-
being successful.
I think empowerment goes a long way as a leader, because the leader has to look at the long run. The what is your 15 years from now, not what do you see yourself in 5 months, right? And I feel like we each stand on each other's shoulders in a way.
Yeah.
So the leader is either lifting you up, or he's a dictator and tearing you down. So I think empowerment is really, really key in any situation that you want to succeed in, because success is easy, but maintaining that success, like you said, duplicating it, that's hard.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
true
difficult.
leadership.
That is difficult.
And
I mean, yeah,
Go
go
for
ahead.
it.
Oh, okay. Just in a lot of different situations, you find a lot of weak leaders, and they wonder why they're not successful. They wonder why, like, where can I improve? And they never look at within themselves. They always look
Yeah.
at the people around them. They always try to point the blame.
I
know?
think because at that point, when you're in a leadership position, you've already amounted to some success personally, right? You have become competent at something to amount to some success. But then there's that wall, right? Where
That pride.
yeah, the pride, where you're only competent yourself, and you're not really good at inspiring others to
Right.
to duplicate you.
Right.
But then you look at that as their fault, not yours, because you're so used to always being self-reliant, and realize that not all people are like that, right? You gotta
Yeah.
lift them up.
Like if you look at Henry Ford, he was a really bad leader.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
like the stuff that he did to his employees, like how they built him a new car for his birthday.
Yeah, a new model
Yeah,
of his
new
favorite
model.
car. was-
Brand new.
And he just went over there and literally smashed the thing to
Destroyed
pieces
it.
with his bare hands, you know?
Yeah, could you imagine how far you must have gone and like into a hole to have that level of pride where it's like your only success in life distracts you so much from the future.
Yeah, not only pride but insecurity.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was afraid of something. He was afraid of letting that little bit of power go to achieve something higher. I feel like a lot of people, they're so satisfied, or they're content with what they have at the moment. That's why they hold on to it so tightly.
Yeah.
Versus people who are willing to take that risk. People who are really successful. I mean, you see a lot of people who get jobs, and they're being paid $80,000 salaries, $100,000 salaries. They're like, I'm good, I'm happy, right? But is it them convincing themselves that they're happy, or is it them being afraid, like, okay, well, I can get $110,000 salary, but I have to do this and this and this. But am I willing?
And that's
Right.
a hard line to draw, right? Because you could be happy with $20,000, right? Happiness
Right,
isn't
right.
monetary, but it's drawing that line of, am I really happy, or am I convincing myself I'm happy so I don't work harder or push myself
Right?
because you're afraid of what's to come?
Because at like what point does it become an excuse?
Yeah.
Because people are happy with what they've created, they find it secure, and they like to stay within that bubble, they're very resistant to the change that it would need to take for them to achieve something higher, and they don't really value themselves that high as to be able to reach those points.
Yeah, I think people mistake happiness for comfort. I think when people are comfortable, they kind of like, oh yeah, I'm so happy, everything is nice. But I think true happiness comes from purpose and meaning, and also success, right? And all those things together, and adding value to others. That's the main, but that you have to not be comfortable to gain those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And personally, when we break down, what is happiness, I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, security is very much rooted in my happiness. Your personal security, right? If you love yourself, financial security, right? Are you secure in your faith? I feel like there's a lot of attributes that contribute to happiness, but really lead all the way back to one general idea, and it's whether or not you have that confidence in yourself, and whether or not you believe so strongly in it, and that you're not afraid.
Yeah, that's a
right?
big thing.
Because insecurity stems from fear. You are either afraid that you're not good enough, you're not capable, you can't do it, or you don't know how to do it. So I feel like security is a huge contributor to happiness in general, like
Yeah.
long-term happiness.
Yeah, definitely.
Reeling it back into the law of empowerment, you have to really step out of those insecurities and feel secure about yourself before you're actually able to empower your followers. And then once you can overcome that, you will be able to build up your followers and multiply their effectiveness, and that would actually boost you
Yeah,
up
add value
too as
back,
well.
yeah.
Because like a lot of people get scared with their followers overtaking them,
Yeah.
but as their followers are rising, that would not only, they wouldn't stay in the same place, but the leaders would themselves rise too.
Right.
Yeah, I think something that's really important to understand is you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Because at that point, that's when you're winning, right? Because you're not in that comfort zone where you're not growing. you're in a different comfort zone where there might be tension, there might be pulling, but you're growing, and you've been in there so long that there's some comfort. And like you said, that's kind of security is kind of a thing that brings happiness. So if you get to that point, I think that's like the best place to
pressure
be.
makes diamonds.
Yeah.
Or you just crack under pressure. I mean, it really depends on who you are and the kind of pressure that you're under. But definitely, if you have the right mindset, you have the right goals, you have the right attitude, heading into a problem, heading into a situation, I think you're right. Success is definitely attainable in this situation.
I think that's a great spot to close that law.
Yeah,
that was solid.
Definitely.
All right, moving on to law number 13, the law of the picture.
Lead by example. You are the perfect picture for your followers.
Right. So what do you see in this law? The law of the picture.
Well, I feel like it connects back to the law of empowerment, how it's like you yourself need to be secure with your own empowerment, is because you also need to be the picture that your followers will look at, They won't be able to get empowered themselves if they don't see it in you. If you're weak, they'll be weak.
Right. And I think something that just came to me actually is ever follow like a person that you really enjoy. For example, say if you want to get stronger, you have a poster of Arnold Schwarzenegger in your room.
Yep.
Like you wake up every morning, you see that, and then you see the amount of work that Arnold Schwarzenegger put into building his physique. You're like, I want to be like that, right? But just seeing that, just seeing the physicalness of it, gives you that extra drive versus just hearing about someone saying, "Oh, this guy is this strong, this guy is this big," versus having that physical evidence in your hands, right?
Yeah, I think that really pushes people to realize that they can achieve too.
Right.
Which we kind of talked about earlier in law of empowerment.
I mean, it's always good to practice what you preach. That as a certain basis is just a fact. You cannot deviate from that whatsoever, because once you do, people get confused because your heart, the actions reflect your heart, right? And your mind is where your heart is.
And we talked about that in the other episode about, that can be confusing for your followers if you say to do something and you don't do it.
Definitely.
And you really have to hold yourself to that high standard.
Don't get us wrong, though. It is not going to be an easy thing to do.
Oh, that's probably the hardest thing is to
hold up those values and to lead by example.
Always.
And what you say.
Day in, day out.
It's going to be the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, you can't slack off one day or else people will notice that slip up. And they'll think, I can slip up 10 times as much as this guy because he's the leader.
But highlighting how difficult it is, that's what's really going to set you apart from the other leaders is if someone sees, hey, this guy has good morals, he has good ethics, and he sticks to these principles regardless if there is $1 in his hand versus $10,000 in his hands, right? The leader leads by example. And I feel like strong leaders, that is how you separate good from great. Definitely. In this area.
Because this is something you have to do always. And that's the hardest thing for people is consistency.
Right.
To exemplify, better and better every day. You never stop too. There's never a level where you're like, okay, this is a really good picture of a leader, so let me just keep doing this. No, you keep looking for ways, right? You keep reading, you keep all these things. And I think that's probably the most important thing, like you said, sets you out from the pack is having that day in, day out mentality.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So you got to pick which ones you want to put in there. So moving on, the law of the buy-in. Law of the buy-in is the leader finds the dream and the people find the leader.
Yep.
I feel like it's very important to note that you're never going to accomplish anything just because you have the right vision. Someone will go follow someone else with the same vision. What is so incentivizing that this particular person should attract these amounts of people?
Goes right back to the last law, right?
Definitely.
Just having that personality that exemplifies, a high standard that people would like to be like, man, there's something about him that I like, that I strive to achieve. And then after they buy into you as a leader, then they buy into your vision, your bigger vision.
Right.
Yeah. So like, if you go to put it in a simpler format, if you go up to some random person who you don't really know and you ask to borrow money from them, of course they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to give you the time of day. They're just going to be like, hell no. But then let's say someone, you've earned their trust and respect, you've shown them your picture as a leader, and then you tell them, hey, I got this thing I'm planning to do with this, would you mind maybe loaning me some a little bit of cash so I can get this jump started. And then once we get that in, you can get in on it too. And then it would be money for both of us.
I think that's a great example. That is a very, very much a real world example that happens. You have, I forget what they're called, but you have these investors that are just looking for these startup companies. But okay, example is Shark Tank. I mean, we've all watched Shark Tank,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So someone might have a great product, but if it's not presented properly, if it's not delivered in the correct way, which is, the person, right? They're not going to give them an offer. They're not going to buy in. Why? They have a great idea, but they don't believe that you are the person for this idea, right? So I really like that example. I think that it is so important that we focus on what and who the leader is, because when we see throughout history and throughout our past, Steve Jobs, for example, he and a couple friends started Apple, but he went into Apple Music, right? And because he had already built that, foundation of trust, right? He already built that foundation of trust and that ability to go into all these different areas. When he introduced, hey, I want to buy into an MP3 player, right? Everyone already had that kind of mutual understanding and that mutual trust within him saying, hey, this might work. Not because that the idea is great, but because Steve Jobs is heading this
Yeah, and
idea.
he led him to victory, before.
That's right.
Like a current example that you could look at of the buy-in is, well, he's not really the best leadership example, but if you look at Kanye and his Yeezys,
Yeah.
he's
buy
got
those
that
Yeezys.
image, he's got that trust from his fans and his followers, so when he puts out the idea for the new Yeezys coming up, they buy in right then and there.
Yeah, they bought into him, not just his
Yeah.
music, or else they wouldn't buy his shoes, right?
I mean, Kanye with the Yeezys, Kylie Jenner with the lip kits, right? Kim Kardashian with the perfumes.
Rihanna
I
with
probably
her
know
makeup.
too much. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. I think it's so prevalent in today's culture, right? That people miss it. They're also focused on, hey, if I just have the right dream, if I just have the right timing, all those things are important, but nothing is more important than the person itself.
Yeah, because you can't build anything without others.
Right.
So if nobody buys into your vision, where they first have to buy into you, then you're not going anywhere.
Definitely.
You're stagnant.
Definitely.
And the last law for today, the law of victory. You got to take responsibility for the success of your team.
You always find a way to win.
Demonstrate commitment.
Donald Trump is always saying, let's keep winning,
Uh-huh.
right? So how do you take that for yourself? What is in definition a win for you? And why isn't there any other choice but to win? I think that's really important is when people set like a plan B,
Yeah.
they totally are not as committed to their plan A.
Yeah, you won't strive for it if you have
Yeah.
a lower standard. It's like they talk about when you don't reach your mark, so you set lower standards. It's like obviously there's no incentive there to work for the first
Right.
mark.
That's another thing that they brought up in the next book that we will be going over, the 10x.
By Grant Cardone.
Yeah, by Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
He talks about how when managers lower the targets so that it's easier for their team to reach, and so it boosts their morale, that's completely the wrong way to go about things.
And I feel like the reoccurring theme in these past 5 laws is the problem is within the individual.
Mm-hmm.
It stems from who you are and what you're doing, right? Law of victory. I can't accept no for an answer when someone is at the brink of financial ruin and they're looking for a business or project, anything to build income. They're going to be striving every day. Every day and every night. They're not going to sleep. I mean, Elon Musk, was running a business during the day and programming at night off one computer.
Sleeping on a couch.
That's right.
Everything, bro.
That's right. And it's because he would not take no. He would not take failure for an answer. I mean, another really good example, still Steve Jobs, is saying that you can't expect all the dots to, connect in the future. You can only connect them looking
back,
behind.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look at all the high up companies nowadays and the work that their starters had put into it, they're all similar in that they put in the maximum amount of effort that they could and really were scraping the edge of the pot right there.
Do you know what's really interesting to me though? This formula for success has already been somewhat tried and proven. Yet
yeah.
Yeah.
there are so many people who
Don't
complain
understand.
every day, who choose not to pursue their dreams, who choose, comfort, like you said, comfort over progress. I think is the big deal. It's like you see these people in front of you. TV every day. TV every day you see, this person's stock jumps or this person's stock drops, right? You know kind of what goes into it. So why aren't people buying into that? Why aren't people, finding that victory within their own lives? Because you can find victory within anything.
Yeah.
Anything is a victory. You just have to win the war.
I've
Right?
thought about this a lot, actually, realizing like this success has been the same principle since way back. It doesn't change. You have to put in the work. You exemplify. All these laws. These are all success laws that have been around since freaking Aristotle. That's why these are Enlightenment thinkers, because they thought of these great ideas. But it's crazy how 99% still don't see it. It's there. You read 3 books and you're like, okay, I know how to do this now. Like that's it. You just need to pick up like 1 book. It's not that hard. Everybody in their deep conscious, I think they know, because your parents always tell you kind of some of these things along the way, but you realize they don't do it themselves, and it's it's hard to see that, because everybody knows that they have it within them, but they choose this comfortable life, and it's kind of confusing to me.
And I feel like it's a little bit more of like a pack mentality. They're like, okay, well, my parents are happy.
Yeah, the Joneses are happy next
Right.
door.
So, I should be like the Joneses. Exactly like what you said. I mean, if you want to be in the top 1%, you can't continue to do what the rest of the 99 are doing.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's so obvious what
the top 1% are doing. Right?
So it's like, it blows my mind.
Right. I mean, I'm so surprised the amount of I don't want to say unmotivated. I feel like a lot of people are motivated, but it comes back to just because you're busy, movement doesn't equal accomplishment.
Yeah.
However, I feel like a lot of people are busy and they convince themselves that they're working towards
Moving,
something.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
accomplishing something. If I work 50 hours at the office day, if I work 10 hours overtime, then I'm gonna get that raise. When really they should be finding a way to maybe create their own business, create their own
Yeah,
opportunities.
I think
for
it's
them.
just perspective, really.
Right,
It all comes
definitely.
down to perspective, and I think I think the masses have a very narrow perspective, right? Like you said, they think they're moving in the right direction. Like, okay, well, how can I progress in life? Get a raise at work. That's like all they see. They don't see the crazy amount of abundance and opportunity that the internet offers. They
Right.
don't see, oh, maybe I can go start a business in this and this
Yeah.
and this and this. There's so much opportunity, but they just see, I'm at work, so how do I get better in life? Become a
Because-
manager.
Because it goes back to like we were talking about before, that comfortability that they have within those jobs. All right, I got this job right now, it's all right, I'm chilling over here, let me just see if I can get a raise a bit. That's a success for me. They don't try and look out for other jobs, maybe, like they don't go and find a company that's starting up and try to join, because there's that they see that possibility of the company failing.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
once
they're
that,
It's not even
if
an
that
option.
Too
happens,
afraid.
yeah.
What's interesting to me, okay, and obviously watching Titanic for the first time when I was 14 and going through puberty. Obviously, we all know why we watched that movie, but rewatching it, the I don't remember his name, but then the snobby rich guy,
Yeah.
who's supposedly Rose's boyfriend or
What's his
husband, he says that he creates his own luck, and I rewatched this movie recently, and that line just sticks out to me. If you notice, people who are wealthy, right? Wealthy people tend to get wealthier, and poor people tend to get poorer. And when you look at it, it's not because necessarily wealthy people are privileged, but it's in the lifestyle. It's in the decision making. There are no poor people. There are just people who are poor with money, and
Yeah.
I honestly believe that. And that is my opinion. If you guys would like to change my mind on that, feel free to leave comments below. But
This is
really,
not a change my mind segment.
but really, I feel people who are in lower income brackets, they tend to be a little bit more materialistic. I mean, you see a lot of these CEOs still driving Honda Civics or older cars. Of course, you have the ones that are obviously indulging in their luxuries.
Yeah, because they can. They
Right.
earned it,
They've
right?
People don't see the amount of failures, the amount of failures that they've had to go through to reach to that certain point, or the amount of hours spent at what they're working at.
I don't even think it's that either, just because like everybody knows how to work hard now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people go to work for, you know, super long hours to provide for the family. I think it's just the growth that they went through. Like, you just can't even comprehend the growth, right? It's like, even for us, like reading a couple books, you grow a lot, you gain a lot of perspective. So then they have the perspective, and then they go and work hard and fail and fail and fail. But for you, you just see them, you know, oh, they just worked hard just like I do, but they make, you know, 500 times my income. And also what you were saying earlier about, you know, poor people, they're just poor with money. I think it's kind of and they're really materialistic. I think it's a downward spiral, because the lower you go, you know, the more you realize you don't want to confront how, you know, crap your life is, pardon my language, but how bad your life is. So you just keep indulging in things that give you comfort, give you instant gratification, right? Because so you make yourself feel better about your life and your situation, I think.
Yeah.
And by no means are we, you know, wealthy speaking on this subject. It's just something that I've observed, you know, throughout. Go ahead.
Yeah, and how you were talking about how it comes down to the decisions that people are making in their situations. And that reminded me of a story I read one time about how Bill Gates was eating at a restaurant. And then the waiter got excited because his daughter was in the same restaurant like a couple days before or something, and she had tipped $100, you know. But then after he was done eating, he left a pretty average amount of tip that like anyone would leave. And then the waiter got a little disappointed, and Bill Gates noticed this. And then the waiter said, well, your daughter was in here the other day and she left like a really big tip. And then he told the waiter, he's like, that's because she's the daughter of a billionaire, you know, but I was just the daughter of an average I was the son of an average income household.
That's a great one. I like that one a lot. I think it really shows how entitled people feel, you know, like how ridiculous this guy Bill Gates probably was like super frugal for like who knows how many years, just trying to start a company, and now he has this money, he should just give it away. No, he earned his money. He could do whatever he wants with it.
Especially with pioneering a whole industry. I mean, you think about computers.
Are you kidding me?
You think about computers. They used to have, you know, NASA. Okay, no, the people that we regard as the most scientifically advanced people. You would assume NASA gets the, you know, top of the line equipment. They would have computers the size of this entire room.
Yeah, it's crazy
that our iPhones are beating today.
100 times over. Yeah,
right, 100 times over. Your iPhone now is just a mini tablet.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So for someone to, you know, put in the risk to chase after something that like
wasn't even existing.
Think about saying, hey, mom and dad, I'm gonna go find a unicorn. I'm gonna bring it home, right? Think about it that way. I mean,
that's literally
this is literally what this man did. Is he brought home a unicorn?
Like, how do you even think of that before it's even like there's any like trait? Like you have a computer size this room. You like how does this come out of that, you know? Like how can you even conceptualize that and then go and do it with other people to get on board? Like it's just, that's true leader. That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to wrap it up and leave the viewers thinking about what we've reviewed in this episode today.
Yeah,
definitely.
I went over a lot. I like these are good laws.
Okay, so thank you all for tuning in. We hope to see you next time, and stay thinking.
Let's go out and get this bread.
That's right.